Welcome to Sepang. 6 races to go and the momentum is all with Nico Rosberg.
3 on the spin since the summer break for the German, including last time out in Singapore, and he'll be looking to back up that victory just down the road here in Malaysia. Fantastic victory, just a fortnight to go up the road, 172 miles away in Singapore. And Johnny, I know you're watching that for home. Great to have you back with us. We were asking the question then of Damon and Martin and Paul, whether he believes with 6 races to go that he can actually take the fight and beat, in a fair fight, beat Lewis Hamilton. Where do you stand on that right now? Do you think 8 points ahead? He was 22 points ahead in 2014. He can convert that?
I think he can convert it. I think it's going to be tough. You know, Lewis is never going to give up. That's always sort of been in his DNA. But I think he seems to have a sort of slightly demeanour about him, a more positive demeanour than we've seen before. Now, if that will take him and get those starts, which is going to be critical for both of them, it's something that's going to give him sort of that advantage as these sort of races whittle down. He looks strong to me, but we always know Lewis is going to bounce back.
Well, this is it. Does he just need to get his head together and concentrate on racing, or...?
Well, he's just going to stay consistent. He's got to do the job that he's been doing, which has been just very, very sort of consistent. You talking about Nico, yes?
No, Lewis.
Oh,
sorry,
Lewis. No, Lewis has just got to get those starts sorted out at the end of the day. And I think if he can get that done, we know his speed. I still class him as the fastest driver on the track. But it's not just about being fast. It's everything else that goes with it. Can he do it? Yes, he can. But I think this is going to be the tougher year between Nico than he's ever had before.
Okay, let's get a window into their minds, because earlier this week at a sponsors event, Rachel caught up with both the Mercedes drivers.
Is this your toughest year yet, do you think, battling for the title, in terms of reliability, in terms of competition, in terms of what you've gone through?
I mean, I've been racing 23 years, so it's difficult to say which one's been the toughest, but this has been in terms of fighting for a world championship with a car that's good enough to do so. It's definitely been one of the most unusual ones, particularly with things that have gone on, but, you know, it is what it is, and can't let the negativity of all the things that have happened draw my attention away from the goal, and that's to win the World Championship.
The talk of the paddock is that actually this year could be your year. Are you aware of that at all?
Nope, because I don't read the press, and to be honest, it's not really. I mean, with all due respect, yeah, that's not something that's of great importance to me. For me, important is to be in the moment and focus on what's at hand, which is now the Sepang race, which I want to win, and that's what I've been doing now in the last couple of races, and it's been working well for me, you know, to just be in the moment. So why should I change that? Just continue doing that and see how it goes, and not thinking about something that's 2 months down the road, which could be or not be or whatever, you know. That wouldn't be really helpful for me.
Johnny, I wanted to pick up on that, because he won't talk himself up, he won't talk his chances up, and yes, maybe that is to be expected, but he never really has that buzz about his driving or his wins or anything that you want to see. Is that just his nature? Is that just...
It seems to be his nature. It seems to be a consistent thing we've seen over the last couple of years, but it's only what I saw in Monza, and especially what I saw in Singapore. It was what happened after the race, on the podium, the way he reacted. That was reacting to himself feeling, I've done a good job. Because when you ask him a question like that, sadly, it's always the same. I'm only going to think about in the moment at that race weekend. I'm going to forget what's happened before, and I'm going to move forward. But he doesn't even look further forward to the next race, being had a positive one. But I think those podiums are a bit of a key to where his mind's at.
So long as they're not outscored by 8 points, Mercedes can clinch the Constructors this weekend. If they score 38 points, which would be a first and a second, or a first and a third, so both on the podium and one winning the race, then that would do it for them, and they'd love to do that here at Petronas, well, the home of Petronas, one of their major sponsors. Now, one of the big stories of the day was in the middle of the night, and if you weren't able to be up with us for it, Kevin Magnussen, this was him coming back into the pits, and there was a fuel leak. We understand it was a breather that got blocked. He was out safe and sound, which was good to know, but that went on for a while, Johnny.
Yeah, it did, yeah. Well, again, I think the tank was obviously being pressured from somewhere else. You've got the fuel pump, but of course the fuel pump is dragging the fuel out to throw it into the engine, but obviously the breather was allowing the fuel out, but obviously the pressure was just building up, and you can't stop it because there was no way of shutting everything down. And I think eventually, once they stuck on the fuel to try and drain it, that was the only time it started to go down. But it took, what, 20 minutes? Long time.
Long time, yeah.
Okay, right. It's the occasion of the 300th Grand Prix for Jenson Button. So McLaren just down there have turned their hospitality unit into a pub by the name of the Dog and Button. And so right down there, we've sent a man who is no stranger to a pork scratching. David Croft is on site for us.
I'm ahead of you. Do you want some pork scratchings or not, lasers? I will bring you some later. We've got all the pub grub you could wish here. Because it's Jenson Button's 300th race, we have some marvellous moments of sporting memorabilia as well. And in a few minutes' time, the regulars are going to come down to share a bottle of, well, 300 or Old Brawny or Somerset Scrumper. We've got the lot down here, pub games as well. And because it's Formula One, you need arrows, right? Jenson might not have driven for them, but we do have a dartboard. So I'm going to try and see if I can get a driver to come along, have a game of darts, see if I can beat them, see if they're up for the challenge. Jenson's up for the challenge. He spoke to Ted yesterday.
Is it nice that F1 has these people who count numbers and races? They tell you whatever these races are, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, I love the way that we celebrate a race. We celebrate 300 Grand Prix, and I haven't started 300 Grand Prix. Shouldn't we be celebrating in Japan?
Yeah, I don't even know whether it's something worth celebrating, is it?
Well, I'm pretty happy that I've been wanted for 300 races.
I guess that's the thing, isn't it? You've stayed relevant.
Yeah, I've experienced more than most drivers have in Formula One, and probably ever will. You know, going through 3 different sort of eras of the sport, and it's pretty special, yeah. So I think it is important to think about the number of races that you've competed in, the experiences you've been through, and you know, it's nice to have it here as well. This is where I had my first podium. So in 2004, very special race to me. And also I won here in 2009 in that soaking wet race that was red flags. And they only gave me half the points.
The Rotters, yes. You were embracing a wet Ross Brawn on the grid afterwards. I remember it well.
Johnny, quick question for you then. How's Jenson going to be remembered?
I think very fondly. You know, he's a brilliant chap to talk to. You know, you see him on the racetrack. He's got a beautiful racecraft. You know, you go back to Canada and it was backwards and forwards, front to back. Ended up winning it on the last lap with Sebastian. He's a world champion at the same time. And I think everybody knows that he's a tough cookie when he's on the track as well. And I think that's the essence of what a Formula One driver is all about.
And it's not over.
He's not retiring. We will. It's not over.
It?
Could be back in 2018 in the car, remember?
Yeah.
Right, now, we're going to look at today's action in just a moment, but first we're going to have some facts about this circuit here in Spain. 17 or something on those hard tyres, and you were still putting in some fairly decent times. Was that a surprise to you today around here?
Well, normally here degradation's a real killer, but for some reason, I guess with this new tarmac, it's not really that abrasive on the tyres, and they seem to be lasting, so I don't know if there's a good thing or a bad thing for racing, but it's, in terms of us, we're in a good position in terms of our long pace.
Well, the last corner is unbelievable. Just putting a bit of banking in it, you know, but it transformed the whole thing, and it's really difficult now. And it was a challenge also to find the right line. And eventually, the best one was like middle of the track, which is very unusual. Normally, you always go for the inside, but the middle of the track had the most grip.
We tried to be competitive. I think our pace didn't look too bad, at least from what I was told inside the car. So if that's the name of the game, that the hot conditions suit us, the fact that it's always warm here, then might be a good thing.
We did expect Ferrari to be quite quick here. Obviously last year they had some good success, and we're probably, well, at least me personally, you know, a bit too far off the pace where I want to be. So I think we can get closer. I think they'll still be probably with their nose in front come probably qualifying, but then the race, as we know, anything can happen.
Quite messy day from our side. At least for me, you know, not very smooth running, and you know, the feeling wasn't very good all day. So I'm a bit surprised with the lap time is not too bad.
I think it was a positive day. Short runs can be a bit better, but I think the long runs, they look very strong.
The long runs do look strong. It looks like all three of you teams are in it on the long run pace today. What more do you need to find for tomorrow?
Just a bit more in the short run. I think then we can be happy.
If we could, Johnny, let's start with perhaps a surprise at the day. McLaren, Fernando Alonso 5th in P1 and 7th in P2. We understand that he's the only one that's got the engine upgrade. It means a lighter engine block, but certainly they found something just for a couple of tokens spent.
Yeah, it definitely had. Again, they've been talking about how good that chassis is, and I think this is the type of track, because it's all flowy, sort of high speed, low speed, need that traction at the same time. And I think being able to look after the tyre is very, very important as well, because I think the way the new surface seems to be, it used to be a little bit more harder on the back, but if you push and go offline, which used to be very, very small, you get understeered. But Fernando, unfortunately, has got that penalty, obviously 30 places side of the back.
He'll start from the back of the grid, but they've got it in position, don't they, for their marquee race in Suzuka in a week's time.
Yes, I wanted to ask you something. When I spoke to Lewis and Nico, they talked about the final turn here, which has been changed, and the off-camber as you come out and around. Lewis was saying you've got to go into it in a V, and Nico was going best lines definitely through the middle through here. Different opinions on how to take that corner, and at that point, Nico said overtaking could be great round there now.
Yeah, and I think it's good. We've got two sort of ways of going around the corner, which probably adds to everybody else, where before everybody's been doing exactly the same. But overtaking will still be there. You're still going to dive up the inside. But you know now, actually, you can run wide because that's where the grip is. In the past, you couldn't because you'd always know the grip was on the inside. So there was always the undercut that came our way. But again, they learn so quickly on these new type of tracks. It's different. They've adapted, and everything seems to be pretty nice and close.
OK, when we come back, we'll be back down at the Dog and Button. Plus, we'll hear from Jolyon Palmer, who is fighting for his Formula One life. As I was saying before the break, a really important 6 races for Jolyon Palmer as he tries to remain in a Renault seat for next year. And earlier this week, Johnny went and had a word with him.
Jolyon, 2016 has been a bit of a challenging season so far. Can you be judged on sort of this season because the performances of the car are not particularly good? But can people sort of look at it and sort of say, actually, he's done a competent job because the car is just not competitive?
The main thing for me is to be judged compared to Kevin, who's in the same car. Early on, I would say Melbourne had a very strong weekend, but early on he had the upper hand, I think it's fair to say. But really, I think after the first third of the season, we've been very, very close all the time.
So where do you see yourself in 2017? Where do you want to be?
Well, I want to be with Renault, and I know that if I'm with Renault, we'll have a more competitive car. I've learned a lot this year. It's been tough. I think I'm driving overall not bad. A few too many mistakes, but I'm a rookie, and I think that's to be expected over the course of a 21-race year. But next year, I think if I come back, no doubt I will be more complete because I'll learn from the mistakes that I've made.
Jolyon, we're all behind you. I wish you the very best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Difficult time for him, isn't it? What did you glean from that interview?
Well, being very, very honest, I thought that was something that was very rare in a modern-day Formula One driver. But I think he sort of understands that he is a type of driver that gets better and better the more time that he's given. I hope he's given that extra time because I think if he's given it, I think it actually will repay the team. And I think Renault will benefit for having him in because he's an intelligent lad.
But it's not a luxury you can be afforded, is it, in Formula One time, really?
No, not really. But that's why I say it'd be lovely if he got that chance to do it. Maybe he's in a fortunate position at the moment where Sergio was looking like he was talking to him to move in. Now they're in a decision where they've got to say, right, now what is our next move? And I think the way that it sort of works at the moment, the rebuilding that Renault is still in, maybe those two drivers are something that might benefit them in the long run. But he's got to prove a point if he gets that chance. If he doesn't, that will be the last season he has.
All right, well, 5 on the current grid have won around here before, and they're all world champions. But who are the masters of Malaysia?
Malaysia, a place that always produces great racing. Now, another man who is scrapping for his life in Formula One is Danik Fiat, but following a couple of point-scoring finishes, is he back on song? He had a revealing interview with Martin Brundle at the Skypad last night.
You seem to hit a bit of a low.
I just lost my reference and just didn't drive well.
You said on the radio what's going on. Is that you not understanding yourself, sort of talking to yourself, or was that a question to the team at all?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I don't know what's going on at the moment.
I'm going to stop it there because I don't think you're enjoying watching that. I completely understand it, but we are talking about the highs and lows. When we all saw that, I wanted to come and cuddle you, but I'm too British and you're too tall to reach.
And you're a man. I think every human has to have his low moments in a career, in his life, and I think it's looking back at it, it wasn't as dramatic as it really was. I think it was a difficult few races for me. It just was accumulating, and I think that race it just all came out. But luckily for me, there was a summer break, which I had a very good one, particularly good one this year, and it cleared completely my mind out of all these negative thoughts. And to be honest, I came back a bit different man. Looking back at it, I'm thinking, wow, who is this guy? And now I'm a completely different man. But like I said, you sometimes have to learn learned it tough way, and I learned many things this year tough way, and I think now it just starts to get good, really.
Well, Johnny, what do you think he needs to do now? That performance in Singapore not only showed what he is capable of, but also put a marker down in terms of, you know, I'm back, I'm happy again. He was smiling again. He says, there, I don't recognise that guy. What does he need to do now for the rest of the season?
Well, I think he's just got to continually beat a very, very tough teammate, as in Carlos Sainz. I think that's really the best thing he's going to be able to do to give him that chance of staying on. You know, I see Gasly in GP2 was very quick again earlier on. Maybe he's someone who might be replacing him. So he's got to do the job. It's a little bit like you said about Jolyon. You only get these chances, and you've got to be able to sort of grab them by the horns when you get them to give yourself that longevity in Formula One.
We're off to the pub, which is one of my favourite expressions, just down here inside the Dog and Button. Crofty, what can you tell us? Anyone there yet?
All by myself, don't want to be all by myself. You really shouldn't be drinking alone, but sadly the drivers are still in their drivers' briefing, and everything that was planned has been put on hold for a little while. I've got no one to play darts with. You can't really play Jenga by yourself either. And if I eat any more scampi fries, I really am going to look like one. But, lasers, I have your pork scratchings.
Oh, beautiful.
Just what you need.
Beautiful.
Rachel, for you, a little bit of shortbread biscuit. A button biscuit as well. And Johnny, well, you can have a 300 not out beer. Just for you, dear boy.
Those, yes. Thank
Welcome.
you very much.
It looks like the Rovers returning here, but I swear I saw Les Battersby a while ago. Could have been Jonathan Palmer. I'm not sure.
For me, this is a health food.
Yeah, for anyone, it's a health food, really.
Yeah.
But Jensen Button, 300 race, the first driver ever to reach 300 by not driving for Ferrari as well. It's a magnificent achievement to still be going and still be on such top form.
I feel bad, Rachel.
What, by not offering Rachel a seat?
There you go. Gentlemen.
Are you going to get me a drink as well?
What would you like?
The scrumpy sounded good, or the scrumper.
Well, there you go.
There's that one.
Your Somerset scrumper.
A Lambrini.
When you look at these pictures on the walls, what's your abiding memory of success or race win or?
I hope there's a picture of Dear John up there somewhere, because I think that isn't right. There you go.
It is only right. It is only right that you should raise a glass to absent friends.
Absolutely.
And it is
I will do.
The saddest thing that John is not here today.
But the lovely thing
this.
with everything, he was there when JB won the World Championship, and I think that's brilliant. You know, that man supported him for such a long time, and get that dream finally come true for both of them. Brilliant.
And you know what? One of the things, and one of the reasons perhaps he suggests for taking a little bit of time off is just so he can, get over everything that has happened, because so much has happened to him, hasn't it, in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it has, and sometimes things have become very, very tough because of this game is so aggressive with physically, mentally against you, and it's something that, yes, it may be a refreshing time for him with the year off he has to then sort of come back. You never know, but of course it's very rare for someone actually to sort of come back, because things change so quickly.
Yeah. We would have asked him. He's in the driver's briefing, so we're expecting there to be a bit of a party down here in a few moments' time.
We're going to start it. We'll start the party.
Stay here, and we can have a game of dominoes or something.